Hello and welcome to New World Review, your source for everything. From now on, just everything. Everything review, maybe, we'll see. Hi, it's me again, Grand Line Waifu, here for episode 4 and more of Hunter x Hunter. I hope you're enjoying my stupid rhymes because honestly it gives me a sense of happiness rivaled only by I hope you're enjoying my stupid rhymes because honestly it gives me a sense of happiness rivaled only by Kurapika's sense of duty. Which reminds me, if you're enjoying this, please let me know. I love the comments I'm seeing though, because I'm actively trying not to spoil myself, I'm leaving it to Liam to tell me if people are enjoying these. If you are enjoying, please feel free to like and subscribe. Similarly, if you're not enjoying, please hit the dislike button because I can look at numbers myself without getting spoiled. Episode 4. Let's get right into it, because who needs more intro than that, right? Spoilers. There will be spoilers. But I mean, we've had 3 of these now, so we know there are going to be spoilers, right? Yes. Good. Okay, let's move on. Episode 4. First things first. No. Actually, no. Leorio is not a teenager. Good. I'm glad we got that out of the way. Next, Kurapika has magical eyes. No, I'm sorry. We need to go back to Leorio. He's a teenager? I appreciate that people of my generation and the next, because I'm old, or so I'm told by my husband, have been raised on young people rescuing the world from the awful things that are killing us. And I'm all for young people rescuing us. But Leorio? A jaded, medically trained, emotionally vulnerable but hiding it teenager? I have met many a teenager. Once upon a time, I was in fact myself a teenager. How can he be so jaded already? How did he get such a strong grip on the medical system at such a young age? Why does he have a briefcase as a teenager? I mean, I've always kind of wanted a briefcase, but if they were going to spring the idea that he was a teenager on us, they could, nay, should have left it longer and maybe drawn out the age-related references a bit more. I was surprised when I found out his age, but I would have been more surprised if his entire backstory were dribbled a little bit more. And that's something that I'd say about the entire series so far, all of 4 episodes in. It's beginning to get dark now, and I love that, but I would really appreciate having information dripped out a little bit more. I'm more Hansel and Gretel than Goldilocks when it comes to story, by which I mean I really appreciate finding out information in slow steps, drawn from the evil witch unawares, than I am a too hot, too cold, just right person. The amount of information we've been given in the first 4 episodes is a bit too much too quickly. It smells of, quick, we want to do other things, and these other things will be more important and more interesting to us, so we want it done. I can appreciate the excitement to tell the story, and I think I'm going to need to read the manga once I finish the anime to see how faithful this is to the method of storytelling here, but dumping a lot of character background on an audience is, to me, poor storytelling. The world again seems bland, and for all my husband's amusement at my character bias, this is a very character-driven anime. The colour is in the characters, the world is just a backdrop for their neuroses. My unfortunate sense at this juncture, however, is that having thrown out a lot of backstory in chunks, we're going to have a lot more backstory thrown at us, but from the characters we've been introduced to. My concern is that we're going to have a revolving door of less important characters who all have equally dark and dangerous backstories. It's entirely possible I'll be wrong, and I hope I am, because that would get not just heavy, but boring very quickly, especially if nothing is resolved. But we'll see. Back to our backstory sessions, and I was very aware, in a way that I haven't been before in Hunter x Hunter, of the music and the effect it had on me during their story descriptions. I'm a very emotional person, and when I start to hear certain chord changes in music, my emotions get drawn into what I'm hearing. The music sitting behind Kurapika's story was romantic. Romantic with a capital R, which for those without a literature background suggests idealism. Or at least, that's how it read to me. The flowery beauty of his people's eyes and his description of how his people stared at him from the pits of empty sockets. Just for a second I saw the stoic perfectionism drop away in favour of the numb horror of a character who should be showing more emotion than he is. By comparison, Leorio's soundtrack and art flashback were much earthier, with the buzzing of cicadas, the simplicity of the sound design putting us much more in the moment with Leorio than we sunk into Kurapika's experience. The contrast, as well, of focus in those 2 moments is startling. We had Kurapika's obsession with the money involved that caused the destruction of an entire people and his inability to dwell on what that image would look like, compared to Leorio's focus on the importance of a single person. The moments, so different, give me a solid indication that actually Kurapika is more money-driven than Leorio. What it also highlights is the idea that neither person would be trying to be a hunter if something else hadn't driven them to it. which is a huge, huge counterpoint to Killua, who is simply bored and Gon-like in his excitement to get involved in activities. It looks like we have a new main character. Killua got a lot of screen time this episode, and since he's in the opening credits, I can only assume that he is important in some way to the remainder of the story. He and Gon are rivals. They begin as rivals. I wonder if they will end as rivals. They've been perfectly placed as opposites. The Ash Ketchum and Gary Oak of this universe. They both have magical tools, the magical fishing rod and the magical They both have magical tools, the magical fishing rod and the magical skateboard that requires only one push. These two are so weird that even our mustachioed hunter, Satots, looks at them like they are weird. Because they are. It remains to be seen what happens when Killua doesn't get what he wants. At the moment he's bored, which isn't very conducive to a deep story, so I'm somewhat excited to see what happens when he gets what he wants or realizes that to get what he wants he has to go through someone else. Given the reasons for everyone else to be at the exam, Killua is an interesting choice, though not unexpected. I haven't much discussed the story itself in my review of this episode, and there's good reason for that. I felt the story this episode was actually a little predictable once the basics were put in place. The second Satot said the monsters in the environment would try to deceive, I expected every other moment that followed. The way in which it happened was great, and I didn't expect the method that they would use to figure things out, but I expected to have a tell. I expected that tell to be revealed by one of the characters we've already met, and I expected Leorio to be wrong when he vocally noted his fear. Anyway, onward to episode 5. Finally, someone who sees Gon for who he is, and for some reason it's not Kurapika. Hisoka is the insightful creature who sees the sociopathic Gon as the sociopath I expected, and managed to scare him in the process. The sound design of this episode was frankly wonderful. This was the first time we saw, or more specifically heard, Gon experience something other than the bland playfulness that wasn't playfulness. It was his version of expressionlessness. Instead, the last 5 minutes or so of the episode included his breathing. There is something telling in breathing, so I want to dwell on that for a moment. A sound design with a focus on breathing does a few things. 1, it puts us into his perspective. Up until now, we've been following Gon as a third-person viewer. We've never literally been in Gon's shoes. We've never really known what he was thinking. We just knew he had that silly grin on his face. This is the first time I could experience him as a character in all his empty ways. In episode 4, the closeness of the sound design and colours brought us deliberately into Leorio's life while deliberately putting up a barrier between us and Kurapika's life. Here, we're not behind or in front of Gon, we're directly in the moment with him, and that's worth a lot in its emotional punch. 2. The breathing paradoxically shifts the focus from the sound to the visuals. Once you have a sense of whose eyes you're looking through, it colours the scene. We stop caring about the scene in any way other than the available senses, and thanks to a failing in modern technology, we can't smell, touch, or taste what Gon is smelling, touching, or tasting. So we're left with what he can see. We know what he can hear, his own breathing. So what does he see in this moment? Exactly what Hisoka sees. A rival. The true rival. Forget Killua, who I secretly am not forgetting because he said he could escape from the frog in waiting but seems to have saved Gon. That's for later. Killua cares too much about Gon to be a true rival. I was wrong when I said that 5 minutes or so ago. I was ignorant of the future. Gon's true rival is Hisoka, and Gon himself says it later. He was afraid, and he was excited. He's found a reason to compete in this exam for himself, not because his father did it. He's starting to understand why his father did it. His father, who was a hunter at 12 also? Young father. Did I hear that right in a previous episode and forget to comment on it? I think so. Anyway, I mean, who knows when he had time to have a sociopathic kid. In any case, the lack of sound beyond Gon's breathing in this moment takes our attention away from other senses and places it very squarely on the fact that he is being held up by the throat by the only thing to ever scare him into a new emotion. And once he's had that experience, he sees the world slightly differently. We see the world with him from a new angle and with new perspective. As an aside, who is number 301 in the exam? Is it Hisoka or one of his clones? Why is he dressed in green? The pins in the outfit suggest that it's the purple man with the strange pin head, but what's the connection? That's something I'll have to wait and find out about. I keep wondering about that guy. He gets a lot of screen time but really hasn't said anything, so he's someone I'm keeping an eye on. But hang on. Let's return to Hisoka for a moment because I love him. I think he's quickly becoming my favorite because he's the only one who has managed to surprise me so far. His insightfulness, his clarity, and his simplicity are so contrasting to his outfit that I can't help but love his design. He's the first person to actually acknowledge that Gon is using a fishing rod as a method of attack and that it may be worth taking a look at this strange creature's weapon. Is Hisoka actually already a hunter sent in to split the chaff from the wheat? Is Hisoka actually Gon's father in disguise? I mean, his hair is very much standing on end. Who knows? He's an enigma of the exciting kind, and I can't wait to see the showdown he has with Gon and possibly Killua. I can imagine he and Killua coming to blows at some point, since they're such different people with incredible insight and instincts, at least from Killua to Hisoka. Oh, Hisoka's music. I know music, but I'm not a music theorist, so please excuse my gross assumption. Is his music the flamenco? Because if so, it's such a beautiful giveaway to the fiery intensity he's actually feeling despite his calm exterior. The flamenco is so well known for being passionate, emotionally intense, and full of pride for the movement. The strength of the music is incredible, and that being his theme is wonderful, especially since it's not just the actual music, it's evocative of the dance, which is so pronounced as a held physical style. The expression that emanates from Hisoka is a joy to watch, and I think his musical theme blends very well with the expressive art and use of cards, which are simple props with such delicate handling needs that become so brutal. And the connection between flamenco, the clapping of hands, and then the focus of frames on his fingers holding cards and... which brings me to the world. This is the first time the world has had what I'd say is a somewhat direct impact on the characters, though even having said that, I do wonder whether that's the case, since neither the frog, nor the fog, nor the animals involved did actually have that much of an impact on our mains. Their concerns largely came from the other characters. It was nice to see elements of the world, and it wasn't as bland as it has been in previous episodes. There are some animes and mangas that exist where I would argue the world is another character rather than a backdrop. Hunter x Hunter is not one of them, and I'm unsure at this point whether it's really trying to be. I'll keep an eye on that, because I do wonder whether it is a failed attempt or a deliberate decision not to develop the world to push the characters even further into the foreground. We'll see as we progress, I suppose, but for now, that's all from me. If you enjoyed this video and the content this channel produces in general, please do consider donating to the New World Review Patreon, because the support... If Patreon isn't quite your style, then please do leave this video a like, share, or subscribe, because it also helps support this channel an incredible amount. And if you'd like to join the fun, then please do head over to the Discord server where a wide array of shenaniganry takes place on a daily basis. And finally, please do comment with your thoughts on episode 4 and 5 of Hunter x Hunter. This has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time.